YouTube land. This is Phoenix Dingo, and I'm going to do a review on Kasparian. And she did a video on Bernie Sanders versus Andrew Yang when it comes down to their plans for helping the poor, basically. All right, she has three basic criticisms that I'm going to go over. And but first things first, overall, and this is no disrespect for her or the station. I absolutely love them. I'm subscribed. I watch it all the time. But it felt more or less like this was a case for Bernie Sanders instead of a fair comparison. So it definitely felt a little biased to me. However, she has come on the record and said that she is a Bernie Sanders supporter. So it's kind of like me when I'm going over things. As much as I try and be as objective, his ideas just seem to make a lot more sense than anybody else's. Andrew Yang. So I understand it. However, that is how it comes off. Her first criticism is that the universal basic income, the freedom dividend, is not built on top of welfare programs. My rebuttals to this is that, one, it's $1,000 per person. So if you have two people that are in the household, that's an additional $24,000 a month. A year, $2,000 per month. That's a significant amount of money that could help out couples. I need not say any more about that. Two, he has a policy to increase benefits for single parents. So a single mother, she would see an increase potentially in food stamps, increase in allowances. So that's also a plus that he has built in to help out. Or unless the $1,000 is greater than what they would be receiving. Medicare for all, that is also a factor. You would not, if you were to leave welfare programs, you would no longer have to worry about getting health care because it would already be taken care of. So yet again, that's another thing that's built in, which minimizes the cost of getting off welfare. It also increases the ability to get off of welfare and to rise up in the fact that you'd be able to, one, save up money, two, you'd have a little more of a cushion so you could work and still get this money and it could help supplement. One of the biggest things that comes down to welfare programs is the restrictions and the reportings, and you can only make a certain amount of money. If you go over that threshold, you could be dropped from the program. Therefore, they're kind of forced to stay within a certain income level. Whereas if you have the $1,000 and then you're working, let's say you're waiting tables or whatnot, you wouldn't have to worry about, claiming too much money, or if you have the opportunity to work extra hours and you want to do so, you wouldn't have to worry about being dropped from your program because you make too much money. As a manager in restaurants, I've seen this before where certain people had a specific amount of time that they could work. And if they were to go over that, they would have to be worried. So they were really constricted in what they were able to do. And things like holidays and stuff like that, there is no working extra to make sure that you have enough to get stuff for your kids. School shopping, there is no extra. You just have to cut from here or there to try and make it so that you'd be able to do that, or depend on other welfare programs. So I think it's actually a good thing because it will encourage people to get off of welfare programs. And then I think on top of that, being able to get off welfare, you don't have to worry about the stigma. A lot of people think the people that are on there just want to just chill and get handouts, and that's not the case. A lot of people are very much ashamed of it. That's why people love the fact that with food assistance, it now comes on a card. You don't actually have stamps that you have to pull out in front of everybody. You have a card. Now, granted, the card is pretty distinguished. You're not going to look at it and be like, oh, that's a credit card. But you can discreetly pull it out, kind of cover it up with your hand, swipe it real quick, and stick it back in without anybody knowing. Now, me personally, I don't really care because, no one knows about me. They don't know about my situation. I'm educated, yada, yada, yada. This isn't about me. But I don't stress about that because when I need it, it's supposed to be there to help. So I got it, and I will get off it as soon as I start working. period. So there's that point. Then she has another point about the funding for it. She talks about the VAT tax versus the wealth tax. One of the biggest things that Andrew Yang said was taxable events for the wealthy happen less often. For instance, Jeff Bezos, I think his name is, he would have to do something, have a transaction in order to be able to tax him. You know, his wealth, he already has it, you know? So, like, that's one of the things that he put forth there. He already said that he would exempt staples for the poor, like food and stuff like that. So he did entertain the idea of a leveled value added tax. However, he said that he's more aligned with exempting it for the poor, things that the poor get automatically. Now, he did not state what exactly it is, aside from maybe food. And I think, excuse me, I think he might have said clothes. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go back into that. But he wasn't overly clear on that. So in her defense, that is true. He wasn't completely clear on what exactly would have a VAT tax. But what he did mention was things like yachts. There would be a tax on that. So I think that was a fair critique. A little bit overstated because he's mentioned multiple times that he wanted to exempt things that would affect the poor. But he did not get too specific, so it is fair. Then her third point was a one-size-fits-all with the $1,000, that everyone's going to get the same. And she said, how's one going to live off of that in California where prices of living are high? One of the biggest things I would say on that is that it's not meant to be a Band-Aid. It's not meant to completely fix it. What it's supposed to do is help alleviate. You're not supposed to live off $1,000 a month, even in areas where things are, cheaper. You're not going to be able to live off $1,000 unless you're living in like the gutter, it's just not really possible. I mean, everything is really expensive right now. $1,000, it's going to be very hard for you to live off $1,000 unless you have a whole bunch of you crammed into one place and you're dividing up your checks to pay all the different bills, which is possible. And if people want to do that, for me, I'm completely fine with it because it frees up jobs for people who want to work. If you don't want to work and you just want to, live off of your $1,000 and you can do it and you're not hurting the kid's life, I don't personally have a problem with it. I personally think that it's one of those things where people who want more will do more. So, if you want to be able to have the vacations, you want to be able to have, the luxury items like an Xbox One or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You work. If you're just living off of that, that's all you're going to be able to do. And some people, that's good for them. And in an economy where it's not easy to find a job, people who don't want to work and, they're going to do the bare minimum, in my personal opinion. So let them not work. Leave the jobs open for people who want to, but, leave it to where people can actually, they get their bare essentials met. I don't have a problem with it. She then throws up Bernie, and he talks about people working less hours with the same salary. Now, that I do definitely agree with. I think they do need to cut back on the amount of working hours that people have to do so they have more time to take care of their kids. Like, instead of working from 7 till 5, maybe 7 till 2, so you can go pick up your kids and then help them with their schoolwork and cook dinner, have family time. I think that's important, and I think that's one thing that's lacking and that the kids are lacking. So I don't necessarily think that that's a bad idea. I actually thumbs up that one. And then also, if you bring down what full-time is, overtime, you would be able to get to, one, at a faster rate, and then two, you'd have more chance to make more money to get ahead. So I'm not against that idea at all. His federal jobs guarantee, now that is too long for me to even get into, so I'm probably going to get into that in another video. But though I like the option of a guaranteed job, if you lose a job, you automatically will have a job. I do like that option, but I don't like that option as a broad, everybody, you just work for the government, because I don't know if that's going to be sufficient for everybody, especially if you have people that aren't skilled, or you have people who have worked, going to school, have degrees, and have a certain field that they want to go for. If you're putting them in positions that aren't going to help them with their experience, that's not really going to cut it, especially if it's not a fulfilling job. Okie dokie. And then finally, she said that Bernie wouldn't pay for UBI off the backs of the working people. As far as I know, Bernie isn't even considering a UBI, so obviously not. So I don't think that was a fair criticism either, and it kind of showed that she was a little bit biased. Overall, most of the things that she says, I agree. This one right here, I don't agree. I don't think she's a horrible person, so people don't bash her about it. You can definitely have a conversation about what's going on, but don't bash her, and don't tell him to get his girl in check, because that's just misogynistic. If I even said that right, I don't even know, because I'm tired. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the policies, you have to keep in mind that people are going to be biased towards the people they support. I support Andrew Yang, so most of his ideas align with mine, and they make more sense to me than anyone else. Bernie Sanders is my number 2 choice, but I think the difference is thinking in advance. Just like if Bernie Sanders had gotten in, so many people would have a lot less debt when it comes down to hospitals and medicine. So many people wouldn't have had to skip taking their medicine. I'm one of those people. I wasn't taking my medicine as I was supposed to for my mental health, and not great things happened. So, I mean, I get the point that had he been in, things could be different. However, at this point in time, you have Andrew Yang, who has a lot of his other policies that he wanted, but now he's got something different. And if you think in the next 4 years that he would be in, how much money you would be able to, let's say you just saved everything, that would be what, 2 years is going to be 24, so $48,000. Think about what you could do with that. That's a car. That if you get a house for 100,000, that's almost halfway through right there. If you got 8 years, you'd pretty much have that thing paid off for. You know what I'm saying? In the time that he was in there, if it just went to a house. If you went for savings, that'd be $48,000 that you have saved for the future if you invested. So that's why I think it's so dangerous to think small and to go safe, because we could be so much further. I could have saved a lot of money with healthcare had Bernie gotten in years ago. Therefore, going with the safe version, which is Bernie Sanders, in comparison to Mr. Yang, hopefully President Yang, I'm thinking of what we can do now to get further. And even though automation, it could be, 10 years before it's really, really, really bad. But if that's the case, why would we wait, 8 years to start tackling it? If we wait like that, it's going to be just like the climate controls issue that we have right now. We're waiting to the last second to start tackling this, when we could go ahead and handle this right now and start getting to it. And then we could start letting it evolve, which is yet another video that I got to do. Anyways, y'all have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Keep positive and vote Yang. Bye.